welcome to the Nurburgring for qualifying for the GT4 European Series. In fact, the cars we still see on track at the dying minutes of the Lamborghini session for the Super Trofeo, which was slightly delayed. The sky was bright blue this morning. It was almost autumnal here. Crisp and cool, but blue skies. The clouds are rolling in, but as you can see, the sun is not far away. 25 degrees track temperature. Certainly that has risen since the cars hit the track earlier this morning. Not much humidity around. All looks set for a fine day of racing. Packed agenda here. And for the GT4 European Series, the numbers of cars just continues to rise. It's 45 entries this weekend, and some new faces joining the championship. More of those shortly, but right now it's very, very close at the top of the series, and the sheer spread of manufacturers that come out to play in the GT4 Series just bears evidence to the growth of this category that slots in so neatly below the GT3 runners. News has just come in that we have a 10-minute delay to the start of this session because of the late running of the Lamborghini Super Trofeo session. So we will be going to leave it with the pictures. You can see what's happening. You can watch the clouds roll in, but just bear in mind we've got 45 runners coming out to play, 2 drivers per car, and this is to sort the grid. It's around 11:40. We should come back to you with what should be some really quick fire action to see who will take the pole positions in a field as packed as this. It's very important to be at the front end. So back in about 8 minutes' time. Welcome back to the Nurburgring for the first qualifying for the final round of the 2018 GT4 European Series. 45 cars coming out to play. It was bright blue skies this morning. It has become a little bit cloudy, but still the temperature's not too bad. 25 degrees temperature. Last time we looked, they've dipped a bit as the clouds have come over to 23. Humidity's on the rise. 54% a few minutes ago, 59% now. But the good news is I can see the tower in the distance above Nürburgring village, so the weather is very good indeed. In the Pro-Am Cup, it's the pairing Mark Basseng and Philip Bethke that lead the way, but Marcus Lundstrass and Patrick Zamperini, Saba Moore as well, all in the mix. It's still all to play for at this, the final round. It's a case of the mathematical possibilities for some of them, but certainly for Mark Basseng and Philip Bethke, it's looking a very good position indeed for them at the top of the tables. For Schrader Motorsport in their Porsche Cayman. Just to reiterate, more and more manufacturers, more and more teams and drivers coming to play in the European GT4 Series. It's growing all around the world, and the mix of cars continues to change. This weekend we've got a Ford Mustang coming out to play, adding itself into the mix and to be driven solo by Eric de Donker for Motorsport 98. Pit lane very, very full indeed. Championship decider tomorrow on Petri. I mentioned Eric de Donker's Ford Mustang. Another Ronnie Sirrock. Make sure the drivers get out into, hopefully, clear air. And if you want the form guide from yesterday, the fastest car was a McLaren 570S. That's in the Silver Cup class for Finley Hutchinson and Ricardo van der Ende running for Keep Verschoor. The best time, 2 minutes, 5.3 seconds. That's an average speed of 147.5 kilometres an hour. In the foreground of the shot, you can see one of the Racing One Audi's being pushed into position, that sort of echelon formation up and down the pit lane. It really is right the way down from under the bridge that goes across the circuit, just on the foot of race control, right down to pit exit. Absolutely solid. Level of presentation and preparation of these cars continues to rise. It really has become the most fantastic championship, really exciting racing. A lot of drivers new to GT racing, and many in the second or third series and seasons at this level with an eye to moving up to GT3 if they can get the funds together. But certainly a very, very good feeder series if you like, but it's a global series now. GT4 cars racing all around the world. This though is the Premier Championship. It's the European Series, and as mentioned before, 45 cars out to play this weekend is proof of the drawing power of this series. The race this afternoon, race 1 and 2 at this final round, starts at 5 minutes to 5 and runs for an hour. Tomorrow's race will actually be a morning race. I beg your pardon, I said it was going to be an afternoon race. At 10:05. The track conditions could be very different tomorrow. Maybe slightly closer to how they are now. Depends what we get overnight. If it carries on being cooler at night. We had a clear night last night. It was slightly dewy this morning, but beautiful skies first thing. Good to see the clouds starting to roll away. Even better to see the cars starting to power out onto the circuit. And look, they're not wasting a moment to get out there. Let's get our eye in. Which are the cars? That's one of them. Those are the two cars from Racing 1 coming. That's number 16. They're the newcomers, Ronnie Sirrock and Kevin Stroshank. Followed by the sister car, which should be Marcus Lundstrass and Jules Simkowiak, running in the Pro-Am class. Jules Simkowiak, of course, for years raced in the Blancpain series and trying his hand in GT4 as well. Just what the crews wanted to see, certainly here in the Eiffel Forest, up at about 600 metres. The weather can be quite changeable, and it's great if we can get both races run today and tomorrow morning in fair conditions, because when it gets wet, it gets tricky. Traditional mix of Audi R8s, Porsche Caymans, Porsche 911s. You can see the front, you can see the one just the background there, number 76. Firm support of the championship. That's Autolando Sport. Just getting their sighter laps in, as they'll see the track is dry. And the new Racing 1 entry that's now in second place in that little grouping, just trying to learn the track, and the more experienced drivers saying, come on, I want the clear track, I'm going ahead of you. But it's about getting heat into the tyres, getting into these Pirelli tyres and building up, because if you have a bit of clear track, you do not want to waste it. So this is the outlap for all the drivers. The number 1 driver in each of the pairing will tackle session number 1. So car number 1, the MDM Motorsport entry. That is right in the mix in the Championship Challenge. That will be started by Simon Knapp, and he shares that with Max Cobalt. They are the championship leaders after 5 rounds, 133 points to name. They've won one race so far this year, but been super consistent. Will Tregurtha, Stuart Middleton, out for the number 55 Ginetta. It should be in that second gaggle of cars, maybe white with mid-blue stripes on it. That is second in the championship. They have 2 wins. They're only 2 points down on the championship lead. And third, Milan Doncher, Nikolai Moller-Madsen, who started the season so strongly in their Phoenix Racing Audi. This is literally a kilometre from the team base. Know the Nurburgring very well. They are third overall. 2 other crews can take the overall title. That's Ravsan Obarescu and Gabriele Piana, who run R-Envision STS BMW, and along with them they've got the CMR Alpine A110 of Stefan Ciabardini and very talented teenager Pierre-Alexandre Jean. We're looking now though at number 222. That is Nicky Leutviller, who races all season on his own. He is the leading AM runner in that 222 Porsche Cayman. Loads of experience at GT4 level. Obviously waiting for the first flying laps to be completed. Just a chance for the drivers to really dial it in, get the feel of the car, feel of the track. How's it today? Because of course, as you move from summer into autumn, the difference between a morning time and an afternoon time, the level of grip out on the circuit can be very great indeed. So maybe one extra lap of caution before they really start to lay it down. A car we were looking for just behind the little Alpine is the Will Tregurtha, Stuart Middleton Ginetta I was talking about. That's car number 55. It should be Will Tregurtha at the wheel. Great liveries on some of the car, that bright green and yellow Mercedes Celizdar Racing Team. That's the one that Gilles Magnus has come on board with this weekend, alongside regular Bas Schouten. So one of many cosmopolitan lineups. Gilles is from Belgium and Bas Schouten from across the border in the Netherlands. Car number 42, Nicolas Schull. That's one of the Allied Racing Porsche Caymans. Quite a lot of caution drivers going even onto their second lap, still weaving to get heat into their tyres. He's got clear track around him. I wouldn't hang around if I was him. I'd make the most of not having any traffic in front of you. This session runs for 20 minutes, and number 2 drivers get to go out to set the grid for the second race, for tomorrow morning's race. So there'll be a little break in the middle. 20 minutes on, 10 minutes off, 20 minutes on. Looking for pointers. Who is setting the pace? Just looking for pink times coming up on the screen. Right, Simon Knapp is top of the charts, championship leader in the number 1 BMW M4 from MDM Motorsport. 1.8 seconds clear at the moment. Early days yet of Koen Bogaerts, his teammate in the number 8 BMW. Then 76, we saw that right at the start of the session, Giuseppe Jesi in that Porsche 911 from in the AM class from Orlando Sport, running second in the AM class. He is holding down third place, but it's very early days. You can see quite a lot of the drivers not taking their first flying lap too seriously. They're just getting the heat in the tyres, getting the heat into the seat of their pants. But it's the number 1 BMW. There you see it coming into shot. What he doesn't want is to be stuck behind Jesse, because he's quicker in the Orlando Sport Porsche. Second, the BMW's flashing through in the background. That was the teammate Koen Bogaerts. So Knapp and Bogaerts, both Dutch racers. And now we have car number 37 to the top of the charts. Indian racer Akhil Rabindra, also in a BMW. This one, though, from 3Y Technology. New car in second place, but it's changing so fast. In fact, number 2, even Pereiras, who's been Mercedes, has got to the top of the charts. Simon Knapp, though, fighting back. He was first. He's fallen back down to 4th while he's on his further flying lap, but he's starting to set pink times on your screen, pinky purple times. That means fastest record, but he's stuck in behind the Orlando Sport Porsche. I don't think that's going to help him too much. Porsche going well, not yet interfering with him. In fact, he should be able to complete the lap. Through the kink at turn 13 he goes. Up towards the chicane. There's a gaggle of cars in front of him. As long as he can get right on this hill, he's going to lose. That's turn 13, actually. It's corner before with turn 12. Up the hill to the chicane at 14. How good is his middle sector time? Well, it's fastest of anybody. Caution keeps out of his way, kicks up the dust on the curbing. It was very good driving from Jesse, and don't forget he was faster. Nicky Leutwiler goes top, waiting for the response from Simon Knapp. There he is in number 1 BMW, fallen to 7th place. Goes top, 2 minutes 6.221. Top from Nicky Leutwiler by 0.154 seconds. There is Leutwiler. They've both been toppled. Suddenly the 110 BMW R Envision STS runner Nico Menzel. So much experience for him. He is top of the charts. The times are changing and they're changing fast. It's very close indeed. And now Will Tregurtha puts the 55 Ginetta to the top of the charts. His best time 2 minutes 5.230. Fastest by quarter of a second. Nicky Leutwiler was top. He's now down in 6th. The times are changing so fast. We've got 12.5 minutes remaining. What is the target time going to be? Are we going to get into the 2 minute 4 second bracket? We're at the 2 minute 5.2s at the moment with Will Tregurtha's time. He's fastest in sector 1 and sector 3. The fastest in sector 2 is the driver of the 35 Alpine. It's Gael Castelli who's sharing this weekend with Pierre-Alexandre Jean. But Leutwiler just cracks in the fastest first sector of anyone. Sector 1, Sector 2 tend to take about nearly a minute and then about 50 seconds respectively, or about 45 seconds. The final sector is around 19 seconds. It's very short indeed. 2 minutes 5.230 seconds. How good is the middle sector going to be for Nicky Leutwiler? Getting towards the end of Sector 2, a nice tiny run out of turn 12 at the, top, the crest of the hill, down into dip. Squeeze the wheel, as John Watson describes it, rather than the corner, which is the one that's been through there. The right-hand kink at turn 13 and up into the chicane. Leutwiler now down in 7th. No, his middle sector is not his best so far. Not interrupted, though, by traffic. He's got the number 2. He's got one of the Mercedes tucked in behind him. I think it's Nicolas van Dierendonck in silver and black. Car number 30. That's not at the top of the charts. Where will Leutwiler go? He's down in 8th. He moves down to 10th. He went slower rather than faster, so it's now a quarter of a second between the 55 Ginetta and the 35 Alpine. They came in mid-season with the CMR team, going very well indeed, both in this, the European Series, and the French Championship. Simon Knapp, for now, they will have to make do, well, dearie me, over the curbs and far away. That wasn't Knapp, though. That was Nico Menzel, who had moved up to the top of the charts. He's into 4th place at the moment, but you can see how hard the drivers have to go out of the chicane, push a little wide. Oh, there's the Mustang. First time I've seen that this season. The Motorsport 98 car in the hands of Eric Dodonka, and that's not the only American muscle on the track, of course. V8 Racing have been running these Camaros all season. Look very, very fine indeed in that metallic mid-blue livery. Number 9 car, Luke Brahms at the wheel, showing that with Duncan Houseman, loads of experience. But at the moment, not at the sharp end of the field. That is down in. He looks down his screen. My screens cover the top 40 positions. It's not in the top 40. We have 45 runners, so pace to be picked up. And he's about 2 and a bit seconds down on the best times in the opening sector of the lap. That's not too surprising. He's at that point, though. But at this point, Luke Brahms, father of the series chief, Max Brahms, his wife, Lisette Brahms, as well, running in the championship. Has that rare thing as he goes up through the Schumacher S's and then through the chicane to complete another lap. Will he get into the top 40? I think he probably will on this showing, but he had that rare thing called a bit of clear track in front of him. It's still Will Tregurtha, fastest of all. He's done 2 very, very good laps. His best lap at 2 minute 5.230. His next best lap, just a fraction under the best lap set by anybody else, which is Gael Castelli, the French racer, sharing the Alpine, 35 Alpine this weekend with Pierre-Alexandre Jean. 3rd fastest, Milan Donci. He's sharing with Nikolai Moller-Madsen. They're right in the championship mix. And if you can get to the front of a packed grid, that's the safest place to start in terms of argy-bargy. But there's the car, the 2nd fastest. The 35. The red-nosed Alpine A110. 3rd fastest for Gael Castelli. Milan Domscher. Now into second. Will Tregurtha has done 3 laps in a row in the 2-minute 5s, and his best one was the last one, 2 minutes 5.123 seconds. Milan Doncic just moved into second place. There, his car, the number 5. Phoenix Racing Audi, looking very, very well balanced indeed. Avis Castelli has dropped back to third place in the 35 Alpine. And Nico Menzel, we saw him have a bit of an off-track run out of the chicane, pushing so hard. He is 4th fastest. 5th fastest is number 47 at the moment, which is Florian Janitz, who's sharing one of the Lechner Racing Mercedes. He's sharing that with Jacob Schurber, 2 Austrian drivers for the Austrian team. And the top second includes all the way down to 10th place, which is the number 2 car, Ivan Pereiras. Leipzig Motorsport Mercedes that fleetingly was at the top of the charts very early on as the first flying laps came in. The improvement, in fact, a few improvements. Just had the 104 Alexander Mies Porsche Cayman for Pro Sport Performance on board this weekend. He has gone 5th fastest. Of course, his brother Christopher was in the wars in the tyre wall this morning in his qualifying session for the Blancpain Sprint Cup. He's fine, the car is being repaired, Team WRT at the moment. Right now, Phoenix Racing fancying their chances. Look at Milan Doncic. 2nd fastest in the number 5 Audi. Needs to find a bit more than 1/4 of a second to see if he can topple the HHC Motorsport Ginetta, which is the car running behind it on the track. White with the pale blue flanks. Will Tregurtha, the British racer, at the wheel. He is fastest, and that's the end of that lap from Milan Doncic, dipping into the pits. We've got 6.5 minutes remaining. This is going to be time to whack on a set of fresh rubber to see if he can take pole position this race. So Will Tregurtha goes on past to start another lap. Well, that was a much slower lap. After 3 laps in the 2-minute 5s, that was 2 minutes and 14 seconds. But maybe he spotted a bit of clear track that he wanted to hang back and get. Phoenix Racing doesn't just run in the white and dark green, it also has the bright day-glow yellowy green Jean-Louis Jasper car riding on board with him now. Down the chance of it though, he's in 21st position, Jörg Vivar. Again, the temptation is to brake just a little bit too tight, too deep into corners like the first corner, and again down to the hairpin at the bottom of the hill, and then all you see is gravel ahead of you. Milan Doncic, as we mentioned, 3rd fastest in the pits. It's Trasoldi in the 55 Ginetta from HHC Motorsport. 2nd place, it's now, after a flashing improvement, getting very close indeed. Alexander Mies on board this weekend. Pro Sport Performance. He puts his Porsche Cayman just 5/100ths of a second down on provisional pole. So Will Tregurtha will have to keep on his toes if he wants to keep that Ginetta at the front of the field. Jörg Vivar, though, riding on board, looking for sector times of improvement, waiting for the end of sector 1, and then we'll see if he's going to go any faster. Down in 21st position, but the fact that McLaren just flashed past him suggests that he's not fully on the pace this lap. Yes, his first sector time is off. He's going to be reporting back to the pits, one would think. That was a very, very impressive lap from Alexander Mies to go into 2nd place. There is the car at the top of the charts. Will Tregurtha sharing with Stuart Middleton. Stuart will take over for the 2nd session, which will come very shortly after this one is completed. There'll be a 10-minute break, and then another 20 minutes of qualifying to set the grid for tomorrow morning's race. But right now, it's all about trying to nail down pole position for this race. The race that will take place this afternoon here at the Nürburgring, the final round of the 2018 GT4 European Series. Time for another lap now. Let's see, doesn't dive into the pits. He's got clear track ahead of him. That is why he dropped back. He fancied the space that was behind him on the track. He's now dropped back. He's got it all ahead of him. Will Tregurtha, his best time so far, 2 minutes 5.123 seconds. He's got one of the Orlando Sport Porsche 911s behind him. I don't know if it's a 75 or 76 car, therefore Dario Cerati or Giuseppe Jezzi. Yes, it was 2 slow laps. It was a 2 minute 14 and 2 minutes 80, but he's got this clear space. You can see the clock at the top of the screen, qualifying session number 1, 3 minutes and 40 seconds or so remaining. The pressure is on. His advantage over the number 104 Pro Sport Performance Porsche Cayman is only 0.051 of a second, and he's gone very wide out of turn 4. We see a lot of the drivers doing that. All four wheels over the curbing, I would think. And what is Alexander Mies doing at the moment? He's had a slow first sector. Slow second sector. He may well be doing the same thing. Hasn't reported yet to the pits. Will Tregurtha is definitely going for it now on this lap. Can he get into the 2 minutes 4 second bracket? That would be very impressive indeed, but it would make pole position safe, one would think. 2 minutes 5.123, his best lap so far. His first sector time, no good at all. So one feels that with very few faster times on the screen, and perhaps the best of their tyres came early on in this 20-minute session. Akhil Rabindra has just disproved that theory by going up into 10th place. He was one of the quicker drivers right at the start of the session in his BMW that he shares with Stefan Lemaire, but the Indian racer is now down in 10th place, but at least he's still improving. But largely the drivers at the top end are either reporting to the pits or going back in towards them. Finlay Hutchinson in the number 10. McLaren he shares with Ricardo van der Ende, always in the mix of that 570S, but at the moment not at the really super sharp end of the field. That's great improvement required from the McLaren racer. Number 10 car looking down, all the way down in 14th position. Is he going to improve on this lap? I think the answer to the question is it's marginal. No, he hasn't improved in sector 1, hasn't in sector 2. He'll be close to his best time, which he's set to go 14th. In fact, he's very close. He's just 2/100ths of a second down on the ultimate pace. Still time to set more, but he's got a bit of traffic up ahead. He dives down the inside into turn 1, inside the little Alpine, the A110. I haven't seen so much of the Academy Motorsports. Aston Martin car number 60 goes very well in the hands of Matt Nicol-Jones. He shares with Fiona James. That is number 60. And it's Fiona James at the wheel at the moment, not in the top 20, not in the top 40, so she's one of the slow runners in this field, but they've had a lot of mishaps this season, but the car has pace. One V8 Racing Chevrolet Camaro passes another, one cruising to the pits, the other maybe building up to a final flourish, but of the top dozen cars on the track, on the timing screen, we've only got about 2 of them left on the track. A lot of them have decided they've had the best of this session. They'll give the team as much time as they possibly can to get the car ready for qualifying number 2 to decide the grid for tomorrow morning's race. And it looks with the top 2 runners in the pit lane at the moment, that's Will Tregurtha and Alexander Mies, respectively, in the 55 Ginetta and the 104 Porsche Cayman, that the top of the grid is known. Or is it? Because out on track, Gael Castelli in the 35 Alpine, you can just see it coming down the background of the shot there. There it is, the red nose. He just set his fastest first sector. I think he's pretty close to his best sector time in sector 2. He's coming out of the very short final sector onto the start-finish straight. The target time to beat 2 minutes 5.123 seconds. He stays third. He doesn't improve, but he's within 18/100ths of a second of his very best time. So I think we now know the top of the grid. Milan Doncic, all the top runners, the top crews are in the top few rows of the grid, which is actually very good for keeping the championship battle right on its toes. The crew that lost out a little bit was the number 1 crew that lead on points. They're in 7th place overall. Simon Knapp set the early pace, but couldn't find it later in the session and hasn't managed to build. KTM in the hands of Ferdinand Stuck. That's number 22. At the moment he's down in... he gained about 4 places, 17th to 12th, so that was a good final flourish for the KTM driver with the third generation on board, Ferdinand Stuck. I wonder if his father Hans Joachim is here this weekend. Always great company, huge character, great talent across the years in every form of racing, Formula 1, touring cars, World Endurance Championship, or World Sports Car Championship as it was in period. That was good. In fact, really the only improved time on the top 20 on that final lap was from this driver here, of the number 22 KTM, entered by True Racing. That's Ferdinand Stuck. The checkered flag has fallen. The session is over. as we did that, Milan Donche just set the fastest first sector of anybody. He's fourth fastest in the white and dark green Audi. Did he get past just before the checkered flag fell? Yes, well, he hasn't taken the checkered flag, so this could be a real flourish for the number one car. He's somewhere on his second sector of the lap. The short final sector only should take about 20 seconds or so, but his middle sector, pretty quick. Could be getting an improvement. He's fourth on the track as Gael Castelli, who's third in the 35 Alpine, comes back in towards the pits. But look out for Milan Donche, the white and dark green Audi. Just waiting for the time to be confirmed. Well, he crosses the line, 2 minutes 5.729, so stays in fourth place. But, well, maybe it was a decision to stay out while all others were reporting into the pit lane, but it didn't work. The meat was out of the tyres. And the 112 BMW, that's Razvan Umberescu. He comes in to the pits to join all others. Then a quick turnaround, and the second session will start at 12:15. All shunted about 10 minutes back here at the Nürburgring. Otherwise, running absolutely spot on. So I think that's the last car to make it back to the pits. Last couple just coming in, the klaxon being sounded. So you can see the last few, the little Alpine and the much bigger Mercedes AMG tucked in behind, going up to the chicane. And 32 Mercedes driven in that session by Louis-Philippe Sonnen. He's one of the few drivers driving solo, so he'll have a 10-minute break and then he'll hand over to himself to go out to do qualifying session number 2 as well. So, just to reiterate, it's Ginetta Day at the moment, top of the table, but by look, just 0.051 of a second. Will Tregurtha ahead of Alexander Mies, who's making a real splash in that Pro Sport Performance Porsche Cayman. Gael Castelli, third fastest, going very well indeed in that pretty little Alpine A110 from CMR. Milan Donche and Nikolai Moller-Madsen in the championship reckoning in fourth place. Didn't quite go to the top on that final lap, but you can see a quarter of a second covering the top 4 cars. And Nico Menzel also very much in the mix in his RN Vision STS BMWs. BMWs do look very good here at the Nürburgring. Florian Janitz and Jacob will be handing over to Jacob Scherber. He is sixth fastest. Simon Knapp leading the championship though, down in 7th place. He's going to have to hope his teammate Max Cobalt can do better than that to set the grid position for tomorrow's race, because you don't want to be down towards the middle of the pack. I know it's not the middle when you've got 45 cars, but certainly you want to be at the very sharp end with fewer people to clash with at this very tricky opening corner at the Nürburgring. But so competitive is the field. The top 14 runners covered by the top second. That is really, really close grid. Therefore, it also shows just how tough it's going to be for all the drivers when 45 cars rumble into action this afternoon, with the penultimate race at the final round of the GT4 European Series due to kick off at 16:55. Sure you watch, it's going to be absolute fireworks. Thought the weather might be slightly improving. It's actually getting a little bit grayer here at the Nürburgring. Going down the grid, Lisette Brahms was actually slowest at the end of the field with Fiona James. We saw her Academy Motorsport Aston Martin out on circuit, 7 and a bit seconds down the pace, but really the sharp end of the grid, the top 25 cars or so, very, very close indeed. 45 cars went out to play. We're looking forward to them all coming out all over again in the next few minutes, because we've got another 20-minute qualifying session. This will set the grid for the Sunday race. So the GT4 European Series continues to grow, and a nice tidy session. I didn't spot even as much as a spin as the 45 runners went out to play. First blood, Ginetta with the HHC Motorsport G55, run by Will Tregurtha and Stuart Middleton. Let's see if Stuart can do as Will did. That was a very good job, but for Alexander Mies, very impressive indeed as he got stuck in there, joined Mike David Ortman in the 104 Porsche Cayman entered by Pro Sport Performance, and was really very much on the pace. He did a couple of laps. It's always the key. You can do one lap, but can you do 3 or 4 within a second of that pace? If you can, it's all looking very good for the race as well. All the cars up towards pit entry is the Borusan Automotive Motorsport BMW. Fantastic livery there, that light blue, the bright blue, Turkish skies. That has been a really good addition to the championship this year. Ali took 18th fastest was the qualifying position. The BMWs do look very, very strong here at the Nürburgring. The 97 entry is from the Lestrup Racing team. 2 Swedish drivers, Joachim and Oliver Söderström. The team team since entered the championship through the season. 47, Florian Janitz, I think that was about 6th or 7th on the grid, handing now over to his fellow Austrian Jacob Scherber. That's the Lechner Racing Mercedes. And as you can see, looking at these cars, the level of presentation, the level of design of their livery just gets better and better, which certainly is very welcome indeed, and a truly cosmopolitan spread of drivers appearing in this championship. And of course they're growing in numbers in the Far East as well, in the United States, and anywhere where you can race a GT car of some sort. It's a very big boom area. Nico Menzel, that's his car, now handing over to his Dutch teammate Beetske Visser, and let's see what she can do. Very strong racer indeed. Number 2 Mercedes, Marcus Paverud, Norwegian racer, will take that over. That's the Lippert Motorsport entry. Track conditions dry, not something you can always say at the Nürburgring, so the drivers will take that. The art car, Aston Martin. Pascal Bachmann did the first session, the Swiss driver, handing over to Julian Darras. 7 is the number, but it looks better on an Aston Martin. It has a couple of zeros in front.
I didn't hear him as well.
I heard him.
That's the Academy Aston Martin. Car number 60, Matt Nicol-Jones will take that over. Take over that vantage. 71 car BMW will now be in the hands of Paolo Meloni from San Marino for the W&D racing team. He spent many years racing with his teammate Massimiliano Tresoldi. Really is BMW land at the moment. The 3Y technology entry, Sylvain Debs, and for the second session it will be Gaël Delomier who takes it over. Brazilian involvement as well. You can see Lewis Floss sharing with Jamie van den Balk. Cars as far as the eye can see. Stefan Lemire will take over the 37 BMW. That Akhil Rabindra was, I think, 10th in that first session and showed some really good pace. Driver from India. KTM, Ferdinand Stuck did a really good job at the end, handing over to Reinhard Koffler, who is such a star in a KTM. KTM's used to be almost the predominant manufacturer on the Porsches with their Cayman in the early days, but fewer of them on the ground. So people move on to other makes. Laura Kreihammer started the 23 KTM, sister car to the 22. Eike Angermeyer, fellow Austrian, is the driver on board. You can see the unusual pivoting lid that is put down. These cars used to race as open top cars, and they were given this top to come and play in GT4. They run with a scholarship system, the KTM entries. They were in the previous seasons. You see the Angermeyer name on the side of the car. And there's Laura Kreihammer leaning in just to give advice. Drivers always want to know exactly how the track conditions were when their teammates were out. Every little bit of information, just where's the braking point for the chicane at the bottom of the hill in particular. Miss your braking, there's a lot of gravel to go and sit in. Horst Felbermayr Jr. started the Felbermayr Reiter 24 KTM. Now it's Gottfried Pilz on board. And as in session number 1, it's the racing one. Audis that lead the field back onto the circuit. 77 car now in the hands of Jules Simkowiak, Dutch racer. Really spectacular. Let's see if he can put that towards the sharp end. But it must be said that the ranks of BMW M4s do look very strong indeed. We have Ginetta on top for race 1. Will we get it for race 2? Track position is everything. Jockeying for position even at this early stage. Number 16 Audi getting slightly in the way. That's Kevin Stroshank, the driver of the car that came up behind, just wants to get past as soon as he possibly can. Stroshank new to the championship this weekend, so he's definitely not going to be as quick as the others. He just needs to get his head down, have clear track, make the use of it. The car fastest in session 1 is there, white and blue, 55 on the door, the HHC Motorsport Ginetta. They weren't the only team running Ginettas and G55s at the start of the year, because CMR, the French team, was running a pair as well, but they changed for the round supporting the Spa 24 Hours when they moved over to the Alpine A110s. So the only Ginetta this weekend for the British driver lineup for the British team for HHC Motorsport. Stuart Middleton sharing his car with Will Sugarper. Will tends to be the driver who's the quicker of the pair. He set 4 pole positions this year out of the 10 races so far. Stuart Middleton yet to set one, but it's about just getting as close to Will's pace as he possibly can. Again, flashing lights, drivers trying to find their way through gaggers of cars and make sure they've got clear track. It's sort of enough clear space ahead of Middleton for him to start setting a time on his first flying lap. But now, here on this out lap there, yeah, it's a lot of jockeying. The driver most keen to get to the front is on the orange and grey Porsche Cayman. Car number 13, Mark Bassing, Philip Bepke, right at the top of the championship. So if the drivers have got it right, they've got the heat of their tyres, it's their final chance to get a bit more in before they start the lap round. The final corner need a really clean and tidy exit. Late departure from the pitch from the Ford Mustang, making a lot of noise, just driving down the pit lane, but he won't come out in front of this lot. They should have, first 8 or so cars should have gone on to their first proper flying lap. Still see the driver of the second place of those Porsches, the 222. So Nicky Leutwiler trying to get heat into his tyres. Maybe he's not taking this first flyer as seriously as Mark Bassing is. But Bassing in the number 13 Porsche Cayman out towards the edge of the circuit. What we'll see when they come out of the Mercedes arena. Will we see the traditional running wide over the curbs in turn 4? Yes, we do indeed, over the curbs. And you can see one of the various circuit permutations being used. Porsche Cayman in front of him. I think that was late out of the pits. That's one of the Allied Racing duo. That should be Jan Kasperlik or Nicolas Schull. I didn't see if it was 43 or 42. Bassing is definitely pushing hard though. He set the fastest final sector of anybody on the out lap. He's just set the fastest opening sector of anyone on the first flying lap. But he's very early in the days on the first flying lap. Most of the drivers just going onto it now. He's completed the first sector, 59.114 seconds. The best middle sector so far, the middle of 3 sectors, is car number 18, Jordan Groger, on his debut in the V8 Racing Chevrolet Camaro. He did that on his out lap. Will that time be beaten by Mark Bassing, who must be said, he goes through turn 12 and goes into the drop. He's got plenty of space in front of him. There are no excuses unless there's not enough heat in these tyres. He's pushing very hard on this first flying lap. Yeah, he should be able to do it without any interruption. He sets the fastest middle sector as well, 46.474 seconds, you can see at the bottom of your screen. Through the chicane tidily, just got to not make a mistake, and the final corner, the 16th and final turn. 5.137 kilometres of the Nürburgring dry track conditions. Clear space in front of him, well, for this lap at least. He goes top, 2 minutes 5.462 seconds. Nicky Leutwiler goes second, but 3 and a bit seconds down. Now into second place with a better time is Mark van der Aar in the MDM Motorsport Mercedes. That will not be good for second for very long indeed. And then the traffic does get in the way. Compromises the second flying lap there for Mark Bassing. It's going to be a problem. He was going around a much slower Audi, and round he went. Had to go on a rather longer route than he planned. Where's the challenge coming from? At the moment, Mark van der Aar 2.7 seconds down in second place. The next driver, Nicky Leutwiler, 3.4 seconds, but still about half of this 25 car field. No, in fact, more than that. 2/3 of the 45 car field has come through and set a flying lap. But it's still Mark Bassing who was really on the hunt. Still just under 15 minutes remaining in this session. But that was a very, very impressive opening lap. Now we've got someone closer to him. 1.8 seconds down. Car number 38, Jamie van den Bulk. We saw that during the interval. Lewis Floss, his Brazilian teammate, was the driver who set the first session time. So it's the number 13 Porsche from the number 38 3-wide technology BMW. Third fastest at the moment is still Mark van der Aar in one of the MDM Motorsport BMW. Jordan Groger going very well indeed. South African racer, based, he's an oil trader based in Dubai. Tries all sorts of different racing. All sorts of different racing cars. How good is that lap? Just waiting for the time to come on. Maybe he's late out. Looking for the time to come on the screen from the number 18 Camaro. The timing screen freeze. But now Gabriele Piana is into second place. Pavel Lefterov into third. So it's 1-1-1. RN Vision and RN Vision 1-1-2 in second and third positions. So it's still Mark Bassing, 0.077 of a second ahead of Gabriele Piano. Very close indeed. Pavel left her off a second back in third place, and then Gottfried Pilz in car number 24, one of the KTMs. That's the Felbermeyer, the pale blue over dark blue KTM. And we have a change at the top. Mark Basseng close to his best, but now he's 0.046 of a second down on the number one BMW, top of the charts for Max Kobold. There he is. So whereas after the first flying laps there was big intervals between them, now the top three cars covered by, well, it was fleetingly 0.4 of a second. It's now Nikolai Moller-Madsen goes top in the number 5 Phoenix Racing Audi. He's suddenly nearly 0.4 of a second clear. 38 BMW pushing on, trying to see if Jamie Vandenbalk can fight back, but blink of an eye ago he was at the sharp end of the field, and now he's tumbling down the order. Nikolai Moller-Madsen, the number 5 Audi, second place. Max Kobold, the number 1 BMW, third place. Mark Basseng, we saw his Porsche Cayman set the early pace, but he's down in third position, 0.433 of a second down. Gabriele Piano in the 111 BMW. Look at it now, the lights are flashing. They're not too close in front of him. He should be able to complete this lap without interruption. His best sector time in sector 1, the best sector time in sector 2. Out of the chicane with a tidy line there, shouldn't be interrupted through the 16th final corner. Will we see the number 111 BMW? It's just slipped back to 5th place. Will that go back towards the top of the field, waiting for the lap to be completed? It goes. Lights are flashing to the top of the charts. Gabriele Piano, quarter of a second clear. So it's BMW top of the charts. Number 5 Audi second fastest at the moment. Number 1 BMW third, and then Mark Basseng fourth in his Porsche Cayman, entered by Schrader Motorsport. Unfortunately, session 1 was nice and clear. Session 2 not so much so. Sylvain Debs has not only gone off, is now reversing across the circuit. I'm not sure that's the improved way of rejoining. Time of that incident, the French racer was down the charts a little bit, not at the sharp end of the field. So to get, in fact, 29th out of the 45 runners, had 3.7 seconds down on the ultimate pace. Car number 5 though, Nikolai Moller-Madsen, got to the sharp end, but now we've got a new name at the top. It's the car that was run in session 1 by Alexander Meets. I think it was second fastest in the end. Mike David Ortman has put the 104 Porsche Cayman to the top, ahead of the number 111 RN Vision STS BMW of Gabriele Piano. Mark Basseng fights back, his best flying lap for a while. He goes into third place. Nikolai Moller-Madsen back to 5th, and here's a replay. Oh dear. The track has grip, the area beyond does not. You can see the understeer as that BMW pushes through. Sylvain Debs just making it to a minor touch with the tyre wall, and then a rather bigger one, but doesn't look too badly damaged. It looks a lot of the speed was taken off that BMW before it hit the tyres. Dust came to settle, the car reversed onto the circuit and has continued on its way. Yeah, literally no damage to be seen at that side of the car. So Mike David Ortman leading the way, 2 minutes 4.049 seconds. He's nearly half a second clear of Gabriele Piano. That 104 Porsche Cayman from Pro Sport Performance is really on its toes this weekend. A little more damage to the front. You can see the very nose of that BMW M4 pushed back a little bit, but the car continues, so that is good news indeed. Fallen to 35th position overall. Clearly that last lap wasn't its best one. Getting into the mix, 5th fastest at the moment, Reinhard Koffler in the 22 KTM. He's moved ahead of just behind Nikolai Moller-Madsen. We've had a change suddenly. Number 10 comes into the mix. Ricardo van der Ende has gone second fastest at the number 10 Equipe Vershaw McLaren that he shares with Finlay Hutchinson. Oh, tail out all over. Calm down, Sylvain Debs. Don't think there's any particular damage to the face in the handling of the car. More likely to be a driver trying to push too hard to make amends to atone running off the circuit. Gap between first and second was 7/10 of a second. There's the Mustang. Eric de Donker late out of the session. Makes a great rumbling. Sorry, Eric de Donker making a great rumbling sound in that Ford Mustang from Motorsport 98. Great to have different shapes of car coming out to play. That's his fastest opening sector, but it's a second or two off the ultimate pace. number 98, yeah, rumbling around the track. Great sound, not yet great pace though. The 55 Ginetta that was fastest in the first session, now in the hands of Stuart Middleton, is down in 17th place. He needs to run, he's 1.5 seconds off the ultimate pace. Here's the number 10 McLaren, Ricardo van der Ende, second fastest last time around, and bad news for the opposition, he's found his first sector has been his best sector so far, coming towards the end of sector number 2, and the advantage for him is there is no traffic immediately ahead of him unless someone starts driving very slowly indeed. Through the kink at turn 13, up to the chicane he goes. He's 0.419 seconds down on Mike David Ortman's number 104 Porsche Cayman from Pro Sport Performance. Cuts inside the BMW, which pulls out of the way very nicely, but he probably would have liked to run a little bit wider there. Ricardo van der Ende, so many years, no, not just years, decades of experience in racing. Picks a tiny line. I think that might have damaged his chances here in the middle sector, not his best. 1/10 of a second down on his best pace, so a little compromise out of the chicane and possibly into the chicane as he looked at that BMW ahead of him just affected his chances of going to the very top of the field. But still, at the moment, with 7 minutes left on the clock in this 20-minute session, he's good for second on the grid for tomorrow morning's race, but he wants to be top. Of course he does. What we saw in the first session, drivers really struggled to get the performance out of their tyres at the very end of the session. They had to be very good on their first or second flying lap. Traffic came into play as well, and as the sunshine becomes bright on the start-finish straight, still great at the bottom end of the circuit towards the hairpin. I'm seeing a host of drivers trying to make improvements, but the latest one to do on and to get into the top 6 as some of the front runners come into the pits was number 31, which is Gilles Magnus, on board with the Salazar Racing Team. That's the yellow and greeny one, slightly unusual colour scheme, but certainly stands out. There we are, we'll pick it up and it will drive into the pits. Commentator's curse, just wanted to see if he could go any better, but he went up to 6th last time around with that, his flying lap, 0.9 of a second down on the ultimate pace. I'd say that was a very impressive step across the GT cars. As the Mustang rumbles over the start-finish line, the V8 roar can be heard out around the circuit. The two V8 Racing Camaros. Number 11, that's Lisette Brahms. She's doing both sessions because she's driving that blue McLaren solo. The Brahms family so strong in this championship. Luke and Lisette and their son Max all involved. Max, from his point of view, sadly, not so much behind the wheel, but he's the championship organiser and coordinator and has a lot of work to be doing. So he has to focus on that more than the young man would like, but the fact we're out to 45 cars just shows how well it is all going. Yeah, just checking my records. Gilles Magnus was a runner-up last year in the Northern European Formula Renault Championship, but this season has moved across, tries and a bit of a couple of races in the Blancpain Sprint Series, but maybe his eye is now set on a GT4 move for 2019 as he gains experience in these cars. 77 Audi pushing on Jules Simkowiak, but not yet the time in he'll be pleased with. He was 10th on his previous before he completed this lap. Has he improved? No, not likely to. I think we're getting, he's very close to his best time, quarter of a second down, but what we're getting is just the tyres are, you have to really hit them early in the session, not push too hard, but you've got one or two really true flying laps. Traffic can block any of those, as well all the drivers know. But Jules Simkowiak stays in 10th place overall. Alexandre Jean, he's in the little Alpine with the red nose on the left of the middle of your screen, if you will, or very much in the middle of your screen now. French teenager, really impressed this season. He at the moment though is, in fact that lap has just moved him up into 6th place. We're talking about Gilles Magnus, and he pulled his Mercedes into the pits. Alexandre Jean picking it up. He is just under 9/10 of a second down. Reinhard Koffler now, he's trying to make a move. He is in 8th position. He said his best first sector, his best second sector. It looks as though Gilles Magnus will slide down the order a little further. He fell from 6th to 7th when Pierre-Alexandre Jean finished his lap, and now Reinhard Koffler will probably topple him as well. In fact, Koffler in the 22 KTM goes to 4th position overall with the fastest final sector of anybody. So the KTM crossbow is still far from finished in GT4 racing. Still got the form. Now finally with, I'd say probably about 15 of the cars coming into the pits, it leaves a little bit of track space these drivers all need if they want to really string together the best lap. One BMW driver actually was driving off the circuit to keep out of the way of the number 9 rumbling V8 Racing Camaro. Duncan Houseman at the wheel, but slight interruption to his lap in the early part of the tour. He's down in 20th position at the moment. No second pole, but maybe he can do it next time around. But he's 1.5 seconds off the provisional pole pace of Mike David Ortman in the number 104 Porsche Cayman that's sitting in the pits at the moment. Sitting in the pits, feeling that its job is done. Its sister car is likewise alongside by pit entry Valentin Aguirre, who's a new entry to the championship this weekend. So looking very good indeed. Now, apparently, this driver in the number 88 is a famous YouTuber, Felix von der Laden. I'm really up. He's sharing that car with Bernhard Laber, running in the AM class. He's done very well indeed because he's got clear track. So he's a magician rather than a YouTuber, but finding his form, learning his craft, and the McLaren 570S certainly has been feedback from the drivers that it's a very nimble and well balanced bit of machinery, not likely to scare drivers too much, which is exactly what you want to be providing privateer drivers with. And Felix von der Laden really just loving being out on circuit. Good example of the best pace through the opening sector. He's done a 1 minute, 0.1 second, the best pace. He's 1.8 seconds down on the ultimate pace, which isn't too shabby. They're very long. It's the longest sector of the circuit. It's nearly a minute long. Well, I should say it is a minute long in his hands. Middle sector he's lost about another 2.5 seconds, so he's outside the top 40. He's right down towards the tail of the field, but there's no disgrace. He's just learning his form, learning not how to just lap on his own, but how to race as well this season, and learning from Bernhard Laber, fellow German driver of that 88 McLaren. No improvement there. You see 5.5 seconds off the ultimate pace. In fact, really, proportionally, his worst sector was his third and final sector of the lap. The very best times in that, about a 19.582, and he was a 21 and a bit seconds. Another new entry this weekend is Mathieu Detry, running for Jack Motor, sharing that car with fellow Belgian Laurent Jaspers. And goes up, improves his form, improves his position to 29th overall, a few more place gains, and he'll be in the top half of the field, which is very impressive indeed. Yeah, Alexandre Jean, here he is, number 35, he's down in 35th position after that improvement from Reinhard Koffler. In behind is Stuart Middleton. Middleton is down in 19th place, just ahead of Duncan Houseman's car. Don't forget, the white and blue Ginetta is on pole for the first race, courtesy of his teammate Will Tregertha. It doesn't look as though Middleton will improve. The checkered flag will be out now, so they both take the checkered flag. But they have managed to get onto this flying lap, so they've got fairly clear track. Is this an intentional challenge from Middleton? You can see him running right out towards the edge of the circuit before turning into the first turn. Tidy on the X's. Top 3 runners, that's the 104 Porsche Cayman, the number 10 McLaren, and the number 111 BMW, all in the pits at the moment. Reinhard Koffler, 4th fastest in the 22 KTM, still out on the circuit. Now, Pierre-Alexandre Jean, there he is in the Alpine, number 35, and the 55 Ginetta of Stuart Middleton. Can they improve on this final lap? It's a long first sector. Will we be enlightened of their times when they get to the bottom of the hill and see if we see green on our screen? If we don't see green, it means they're not improving their very best sector times, therefore they're not going to improve their lap times. A little bit of a wobble under the braking for the hairpin there from Stuart Middleton. It's not his best first sector time. V8 Racing, one of the 2 V8 Racing Camaros pulls out of his way. Very kind of him. And for Pierre-Alexandre Jean, also no improvement on any previous first sector times. I'm afraid even though they produce a fairly good lap, they're not likely to move themselves up the charts with an improvement in their grid position or their lap time. Mixture of clouds and blue sky here at the Nürburgring, but it's generally a very fine weekend. It's getting brighter, we'll take it. As we have sun over the circuit, there's a cloud over the tower, the castle above Nürburgring village, but clearly bright sunshine on the entry to the chicane. Stuart Middleton, his middle sector was also not an improvement. The exit, well, he was clearly trying. I'm afraid that was a bit of an untidy exit, but we've certainly seen plenty of those from the chicane. But I think it's a case the tyres are not offering the grip they did when they were sweet at the start of the qualifying session. Middleton will be very disappointed with 19th position. He's half a second or so down on his very best, a bit more than that, 0.6 of a second, and stays in 19th position. Let's take a look at the exit of the chicane, over the curbs, and luckily not too far away, but he would have rather been on the red and white flashing rather than the rumble strips out beyond. But the plaudits go to Mike David Ortman, fastest of all in the second qualifying session. He will start from pole in the car he shares with Alexander Mies. The advantage was big by GT4 standards over Ricardo van der Ende, 0.419 of a second. The Porsche was quicker than the McLaren. Gabriele Piana in our Envisions, number 111 BMW, third fastest, so it's really close to the top end. Reinhard Koffler really, again, starring in his KTM, the 22 KTM, half a second down and tucked in behind. Mark Basseng sharing with Philip Bethger, such a strong driver combination in the number 13 Porsche Cayman. Some really good performances and some ones that will leave their drivers disappointed. Certainly Stuart Middleton in the championship mix really doesn't want to start tomorrow's race, have his car down in 19th position. Paul Rees, Nico Rindisbacher, they shouldn't be down in 32nd position either. Dario Cerati and Maurizio Fondi did not go out in the session, did not start it, so they will be starting 45th and last tomorrow, just behind the second of the CMR Alpines. But the sun was shining brightly at the start of the two qualifying sessions for the GT4 European Series. It was a flurry of track action. Drivers not only trying to find heat for their tyres, and it wasn't there in the early parts of the session. That was Nico Menzel going wide over the curves. It was about finding track space. Phoenix Racing's bright car stood out, the Audi, in the gloom before the sun came back, and really pushing on very hard indeed. Florian Janitz in the Lechner Racing Mercedes, and then we started to see the Verschoor McLaren making its move. Finley Hutchinson and Ricardo van der Ende, the 35 very sweet looking Gael Castelli, Pierre-Alexandre Jean driven CMR Alpine was going faster and faster. A 10-minute break in between, in which the drivers from session 1 could pass over notes, all information they possibly could, their teammates. The start of the second qualifying session, and clearly again Schrader Motorsport meant business, and Mark Basseng was just trying to really go for it. He was at the top of the field, but he wasn't to end there because the times came down and down. Then we had, unfortunately for the number 39 BMW crew, Sylvain Debs getting it wrong, hitting the tyre wall on the outside of the circuit, and he wasn't alone in finding the track wasn't wide enough. Jules Simkowiak, he ended up 11th, but he was going for pole. It didn't work. Stuart Middleton took over from Will Tregurtha. He ended up in 19th, so again, a bit more head-scratching, but it makes it very tight indeed. But for tomorrow morning's race, it'll be Mike David Ortman, top of the charts in the Pro Sport Performance Porsche.